I've been researching about like your YouTube, and what sort of sticks out to me is you do like this numerology, or you're quite knowledgeable about it. So it's kind of like uh, how the universe has these hyper real numbers that are like true to the human experience. So I think that's quite a good place to start, that I'm quite curious about.
Absolutely. So, how's it going, everyone who's listening and watching? As far as numerology goes, I look at it as the universe, our us as humans are like computers. Our the way we process information, the way we are coded, literally the universe codes us as we imprint into this incarnation, your current incarnation. From astrology, numerology, it's all written in the stars. So everyone who's very religious will look at it as, oh, this is demonic or this is fortune telling. But astrology and numerology, human design, all these no these occultic sciences can tell you a lot about yourself. For example, you said you came across my YouTube channel. For those who don't know me, my name is MarcoJWilliams, and I am a Life Path 33. And a Life Path 33 is a master teacher. It's my number. It's saying that I am aligned to do this as I incarnate in this planet on this particular lifetime. So the master teacher is very intuitive. They share a lot of information to the collective to boost the collective. And you have different life path numbers. Like the master numbers are 22, 11, 33. 22 is known as the master builder. 11 is known as the very intuitive one, and then so on. 1 would be the CEO, 2 would be very nurturing, 3 are the creators, and all of these numbers carry their own energy, their own vibration, and that energy goes on to you. It kind of makes up who you are, and it's not just the numbers. Astrology goes into it as well. Like I'm a Virgo, and we have our moon rising signs and our north node, north and south node. North node being the node that tells you what you are supposed to learn from your south node. Your south node is what you're supposed to overcome in your past life, and your north node is who you are supposed to become in this lifetime. And when we recognize this, it aligns us to our life path, or what are we destined to do in this particular incarnation. So that's just a little slight summary of numerology and astrology, just to start the collective off with that.
No, that's brilliant. So it's, from what I interpreted there, it's kind of like we have a destiny, and almost like when we're born, we have like our craft chooses us. We're meant to grow into something. It's already been decided for us. Does that sound about right?
Yes, everything is written in the stars, and to get into soul contracts, you agree and you sign these contracts before you come into this particular incarnation. Dolores Cannon talks about it, Michael Newton talks about it, then the journey of souls, and they all, in Eastern philosophy, it mentions it, how you have these guides, which is what I've encountered when I was at the Monroe Institute. This is why I've kind of been on a little bit of a hiatus, and we kind of haven't been able to communicate with this podcast, but I've been on a little hiatus because I was able to get in touch with my higher self. And I stood at a place in time which is known as the Akashic Records, or a fifth dimensional space and time where time doesn't exist. And I saw how time is a non-linear concept. So all the incarnations you have are happening right now, playing out. All these different timelines are playing out simultaneously. And when I met my higher self, it told me that you are where you need to be. You don't need, even though you are the master teacher, dig into your intuition more and really just enjoy the human experience. Enjoy existing in the now. And you don't have to prove yourself or prove your knowledge to the world. Just the world will find you. Just exist. Enjoy what was planned for you. And that is, I mean, my North Node is in Capricorn, and that means like we have to deal with responsibility, building a legacy, building something that, like, with it being in, what was it, Cancer, the South Node, it wants me to break away from that hermit lifestyle. And I feel like this past month, oddly enough, I kind of went back into a hermit lifestyle. I haven't really been posting as much because I'm just collecting information right now, but I will be posting again. Hence why I said this podcast would be a good start before I start posting again. But yeah, I've been on a hiatus.
When
That
when you said you met your higher self, is that kind of in spirit? Like, what sort of form did that take? And yeah, what was that like?
so we did at the Monroe Institute, we did a meditation that is known as hemisyncing, where we're combining both hemispheres of the brain. The left and right hemisphere, your right side is your more creative, and your left side is your analytical side. And when you hemisync, you kind of bring those two sides together and you work in harmony. But there's a frequency that allows you to unlock within yourself. It allows you to take a true deep dive within your consciousness. And most people who don't practice meditating, they won't know what they're looking for. They won't know the voice that they're supposed to look for. And I've had my experiences with psychedelics, and I would attribute that to being what allowed me to know how to find my higher self. Because one of the lessons when I was on some garden edibles, we'll say that for sensor purposes, but the lesson was to find my eye and to listen. And when you're talking to your higher self, stuff doesn't make sense in that aspect. Like, how do you listen to an eye? But it was saying, listen to your eye, listen to that third eye, listen to that inner voice, find my eye and listen. And there was a stairwell or a spiral staircase that when I start the meditation, you go, remember I said you go into this space where time doesn't exist. So the meditation starts off where you're just laying down and Robert Monroe is guiding you to the different steps or the different levels that you're going to unlock. And I believe when you hit like focus 12, you enter into this space. When I remember when I was in focus 12, there was a beach and it was a very sunset, beautiful beach, mountains in the background. And behind me was a portal that opened up like it was a rectangular shaped doorway, which was the portal. I walked through it and there was a spiral staircase, and there was me going up this staircase, and there was the different incarnations of me just talking to me, guiding me. Like some people say ancestors, but at the top of that staircase was a bright light, what I would call God or source. And below that staircase was my higher self. And my higher self is what religion would call an archangel, or the version of you that has lived through every single incarnation or every timeline it has seen it. So your higher self is what is guiding you in this lifetime, because it has to go back and give a service to its past incarnations. And if anyone wants to dig more into this, like The Law of One is a good book that talks about this. But from my personal experience, I saw that my higher self said, you are where you need to be. This particular incarnation, because we stood at a place where we saw everything playing out all at once, all my different lifetimes. We were just seeing how one lifetime, we'll call it Earth 333. That was the lifetime where I became a director. I was an actor, became a director. I used my creativity. And I'm standing there thinking like, wow, I'm so successful in that lifetime. Why not this lifetime? And higher self it simply said, you never connected to your higher self in those lifetimes. So guess what? You come back into this trap all over and do it again, because your goal is to help liberate the collective, help elevate it. So in this lifetime, you do that. You connected to me. So your higher self, it's guiding you. And your whole mission is to just help everyone realize that there is you, and you are more than this physical body. You are supposed to get to source and escape liberation. The Gnostics, and it's very interesting because I saw a lifetime as a captor, which is a set of the Gnostics that were persecuted for teaching the collective that this material world is a prison planet. And we are supposed to enjoy being in this physical incarnation, but we are supposed to also know our divine spark. And knowing your divine spark deals with going within yourself and knowing thyself.
Such a good way of putting it, prison planet. Like, it's so true. So that's quite an overwhelming experience then. You had this psychedelic experience and you saw all your versions of yourself. Kind of, there's a book called The Midnight Library, which has this concept about a girl living through all of multiple worlds, and she realizes in each world there's always something wrong. There's something that she's always wanted a decision to make, but there's always something that's been lacking. So that experience, it shows you that you're doing well enough as you are, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you know, I wouldn't say this particular experience was a psychedelic experience. It was
Right.
more transcendental, where psychedelics, I feel like there's hemi-syncing and then there's a psychedelic experience. To be honest, they felt the exact same, where the knowledge that you obtain when people take mushrooms or they have edibles or ayahuasca, all those lessons are lessons from the higher self. People contributed to Mother Aya or they contributed to the shrooms. No, that information that is being channeled to you or the downloads that are given to you are from your higher self that is guiding you. And in my book, I mentioned how edibles or psychedelics are cheat codes to the universe, because they allow you to access knowledge that some of us aren't ready for or truly ready to experience. And what was great about the Monroe Institute is it allows you to obtain, they equivalent to 20 years of spiritual practice of meditation through a week of meditation through hemi-syncing. Robert Monroe discovered that through binaural beats, hemi-syncing, these seasoned practitioner monks who've been practicing almost meditation for almost their entire life, they describe the downloads that they received in a week's worth of time were what took them years to obtain that knowledge. So that's why I'm not sponsored by the Monroe Institute, but if you really start meditating right now and just start practicing, and then you take a trip to the Monroe Institute or you do some binaural beats or hemi-syncing, you'll see that the same revelations you obtain through mushrooms, you're going to get the same thing, but you're going to get to that information a lot quicker. But you don't have the side effects, because sometimes shrooms, you have that come down, you feel a little down, depressed. And a lot of people go through a form of psychosis. And I'm not going to lie, that's what I feel like I went through. And that's kind of why I've been on a break, just kind of getting myself back to being grounded, because I seen a timeline where my current partner and I, like, it said that this timeline with her is important. But then I also had a experience with other people that were there that kind of shared the same visions that kind of solidified that, oh, what you're experiencing isn't just your imagination. And that was the purpose of the Monroe Institute, where we did a lot of exercises to kind of confirm what we are experiencing isn't just part of our imagination. So we were tasked with different messages to give people through the astral realm. And when they received it, it was like, aha, this is working. Or like, we perceive time different. This is how remote viewing works, or manifestation, where you see something at one point in time, you don't know, you're giving no information on a target. When it comes to remote viewing, you're given absolutely zero information, but you're told to obtain information at the same time. And you just sit there and meditate and you think, okay, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? So one of our remote viewing exercises, they'll give us a coordinates and they say, just tap into what first comes to your mind. And one of the pictures that they later gave us was Devil's Tower, which is in I can't think of the state it's in right now, but it's in like the northwestern part of America, and it's in a national park. But the first thing that came to my mind was mountains. Now, how did I receive that information is because eventually they give you the answer. So it's just a matter of pulling that information from one period of time back to a certain point of time where you are now. And this is where I say that higher self is the one that bridges that gap, and it allows you to communicate. And everybody has this capability. We call it ESP, or these psychics. All of us can tap into it if we truly practice it, because our intuition is a form of a muscle, and it has to be trained. And you train it through meditation. You train it through different intuitive exercises. Manifestation, If you believe this, I believe this experience really helped me understand manifestation from a different perspective. Because when you're in that space and time where time doesn't exist, everything comes into fruition instantly. So all of your manifestations in this 3D physical plane, you may see that what you're manifesting is going to happen, but it just hasn't happened at this moment, but you feel it. So that's where they talk about aligning to that belief, aligning to that thought. Feel what it's like to be in that moment, because that is you aligning to your future self that is experiencing this. And when the lower self and the higher self merge, you'll feel this black hole or this energy, this low depressive energy. And that's kind of what I felt when I got back from the Monroe Institute, because I was just like, I don't know what is real. Am I where I'm supposed to be? I was told that I was supposed to be here, but I see now I truly understand why people who have gone through psychedelic experiences go through this form of psychosis where they don't know what's real. I don't know if you heard about the guy who had a wife and kids for 12 years in a DMT trip, and he came back really messed up because he thought like, wow, you guys aren't my family. I had a wife and kids for 12 years. His DMT trip was over an hour, but to him, that time dilation, or that when he entered that space where time doesn't exist, he was he came back delusional.
Why
Well,
would
not delusional.
why would they kind of create that then? Why would someone experience in a DMT trip like a whole nother lifetime to then come back?
From what I've noticed with the timelines, you're experiencing just a different timeline. That's it. That's all you're experiencing. Whether you're experiencing a different incarnation or you have incarnations, which are you, and it's so complex. Where from what I've seen, you think of it like a book where time is stacked on top of each other like pages in a book. And we in this 3D plane can flip open this book and then read it in a linear perspective. But on a higher perspective, it's all stacked. So let's say you want to visit your current incarnation who's linked to so many different past incarnations, you could just jump to different timelines because you're connected by certain energy. There's certain shadow work that you need to do through this astral realm of, for let's say you had your mother killed you in a past life, or your brother killed you in a past life and he came back as your son. That is the karmic debt that you need to recognize, because that happens to a lot of people, where the universe gives you these signs, or these people keep incarnating back into your life to heal you, to fix you, to heal a karmic debt. And it's up to us to recognize it, because you meet these people. Some people, there's good soulmates where you're just like, I just know I've known this person before and I don't know where, but I know them. And then there's other people who you have some trauma and they might have murdered you, or they might have done something very cruel to you. And now you got to come back in this lifetime and love them unconditionally. Now that's just past lives. Now you have other lives where your current timeline branches off. Let's say you heard the Mandela effect, where people experience different realities and different timelines, and we're like, no, I remember this. I did a video about Sinbad being a genie. I'm like, I vividly remember that. Now, with timelines, it's a lot different. It's like you're still on this same course, but it branches off into different directions. So the different choices you make in different universes, I saw there were multiple universes. So there are different universes where you are doing something completely different than what you are doing right now. And that's where people essentially travel to, or they venture off into, where now they're seeing, oh, I have this life where I have a wife and kids, and this lifetime I don't have anything. So they come back feeling lonely because they're feeling the frequency and the energy of that particular timeline. And that's essentially it.
Kind
it's
of
just
like
you venturing off.
sort of samsara. I came across that concept. I believe in it. I also wanted to ask for the people that are listening that are like a bit skeptical, what made you kind of believe in these concepts like star sign, um, us kind of having these life path numbers and star signs mainly?
You know what's interesting? I always encounter women who were very big into astrology,
Yeah.
and they would tell me, like, they would read me like a book, and I'm like, how do you know this? Like my current partner now, she's very big into astrology, but I just noticed that, wow, I'm more compatible with my sister's signs. That's a Virgo. That would be Capricorn, Virgo, and who else? Taurus. Like I noticed all of my positive relationships were with my fellow sister signs. And of course, it's more elaborate than that because you go into your moon, your rising, and your nodes and all that. That's a different story for a different time. But that's kind of what made me start to look more into astrology and start to do more research into it and seeing like, oh, okay, there is correlation here, and you see that they've been doing it. It's ancient, and it
What
was
exactly is the
forbidden at point.
what exactly is the correlation?
The core. Remember how earlier in the conversation I was saying how we are all programmed as in a down loop. It's coding.
Yeah.
That's essentially it.
Okay.
We're coded with a cosmic blueprint. When we come in, the stars, the time, all of that is coded within our soul contract, and it comes back into this you, and it tells you you are supposed to function like this. And if you don't function like this, you're going to feel like you're very out of line. I compare it to like shaving against the grain, where you get this ingrown hair because you shaved against the grain. Like that's what it's like to live a life that's not aligned, where you have all this stagnation, this turmoil. Nothing seems to be right, and internally, like, I'm not living my full purpose. Blake Lively, for example, is a good I don't know if you're familiar with her, but I'm just sitting back and observing how she's just getting ridiculed through the media because she's actually not aligned to her North Node. What was her North Node in? Yeah, I believe it might be in Cancer like me. No, not Cancer. Capricorn like me, where she's supposed to be doing something nurturing. She's not. Like astrologers, if you have a good astrologer, they'll tell you like you're not aligned. They'll tell you the truth. You're not aligned to your purpose. You're supposed to be doing this. Like she should be doing something that's giving a legacy. Acting, it's very vain. She should be doing something that's aligned to nurturing, caring, creating a cure for a disease, something like that. Like people, but now it's as she has her return. Now you're starting to see like it exposes what's not. Like when we enter this age of Aquarius, you start to see how even in politics or how trends change. When we were in the Capricorn age, we noticed how influencer culture was flourishing, and like shows like Keeping Up with the Kardashian or Vine. These social media sites became very popular where influencer culture flourished. But now, as we enter into this new age of Aquarius, the businesses and the people are going to be that are going to flourish are the people who give a service to the collective, give a service to humanity, where they're very heart-centered. It's not about me, it's about everyone else. Community being the new income, where I feel as if we will eventually collapse the monetary system where we're no longer relying on money to like show worth, but we're trading goods and services to kind of help one another out, where we collapse the financial structure, where as of right now in America, it's hard to buy a home. Nobody can afford a home right now. It's that these companies like BlackRock are buying up all these properties, making sure that we have a nation of renters as opposed to a nation of buyers. So
if you don't mind me jumping in, I'm a bit worried now. So like, if I'm not living well, first of all, like, how do I figure out my life path number? In case I'm like off it.
So you add up all the dates, all the numbers. You're born in like your month, day, because I know in Europe you guys do your birthday different, right? Like it's not the standard.
So it's the day before the month, yeah.
Yeah. So I know in America it'll be like, for me, for example, it'll be September 4th, 1991. So it's just simply adding all those together, and then you come up with 33. Now, if you come up with anything, if you come up with 11, 22, or 33, you stop right there. But let's just say you come up with a 15. Then you reduce that to, like, you add, as if that's your final number, you add 5 plus 1. So you would be a life path 6. And you do that for any number that you get, with the exception of 11, 22, and 33. So that, like, just to give you a rundown, like, life path 1s, they're more so aligned to be CEOs or boss business owners. And like life path 3s, like I said, they would be the creatives. Life path 4s are very, they're the, I'd say, foundation. They build foundation. There's a lot of stability with a life path 4. 5 is someone who's very adventurous. There's a lot of change. They're always on the go, or they will most likely be someone who lives a nomadic RV life, because, or a job that requires them to adapt and overcome. So it's just like 8, very abundant. They're good with money. The 8s, I think, in my honest opinion, are very, I'd say they'd be the better CEOs than a life path 1, honestly. Like, they know money. And life path 9s, they say that they're very nurturing, or they're the Mother Teresa and all these people. But, like, also you have the other edge of it, where Joseph Stalin was a life path 9. So it could range. Like, 9 can be on this, the yin and yang. They could be on a different opposite spectrums.
So for me, I'm 13th of September 2004.
So you said 13th of September, so that would be 9,
and then
plus
2004.
Yeah, so it'd be 9 plus 1, so that's 10, 11, 12, 13. So you would be, if my math is correct, that is a 1, a lot, because that adds to 19.
Yeah.
And you reduce that down to a 1. So what do you do right now? Like, what is your current career?
I'm a clothing brand owner and podcaster. But I'm also at uni doing business.
So you are aligned to what you're supposed to do.
Damn.
You're
Whoa. I didn't even
like,
I didn't even know about this, and it's already just happened by nature.
you kind of, and you're aligned because you kind of just stumble into it. Everything just falls into place. There's no resistance. There's just you don't have a plan. It just happens. You're just following something you're passionate about, and then next thing you know, it turns into a business.
Damn.
That's usually a life path 1. So that's what you were cosmically designed here to do, and that's just numerology telling you what you're supposed to do.
So just to be clear, that when you said just so people listening can do this, you got to 19, and then how did you reduce that to 1?
I just added 9. So since 19 is is actually a karmic number, so that means you had karmic debt in your past life, because where you were living a life that you weren't doing this, but now it's saying you are supposed to be a boss. Your past incarnation, most likely you were taking a back seat and very passive, and now it's like this lifetime is designed for you to step into your own divine power. So for people to do this on their own, like, you just add up, like I said, you add up your month, your day, and year, and then if you get 11, you stop there. If you get a 22, you stop there. If you get a 33, you stop there. But if you get anything other than that, you reduce it. You add it, and to reduce it, you just add the last 2 numbers together. So let's say you get 53. So you add 5 plus 3, you get 8. So that person would be a life path 8, and vice versa. If you get 21, you would be a life path 3. If you get 24, you would get the life path 6. And if you get 22, you would get, let's see if you
4.
Nope,
No.
you'd stop. And see,
Okay.
yeah, so remember I said 11, 22, and 33 are where you stop.
Yeah, I'm very interested in this, like, coding, like, simulation idea. I believe in simulation theory, but like, what extent does this occur? So you've kind of got the self who has this thing of codes, but you've got, like, everyday things as well, right? Because for example, like, isn't like the number 8 lucky? And like you've got like things like the devil number, like 666. Like where does this sort of come from?
So 8 would essentially be more so abundance. That's what 8 represents. 7 would be more so luck. That's why they say lucky number
Oh
7.
yeah,
People who have 7 are more so luck. But 6, now that you bring up that topic, we are carbon beings. And low frequency becomes matter. Light becomes matter when it falls. So you look at the elements, six carbon copies, carbon, this human flesh form. So when you see 6, especially in numerology, it's a reminder not to give in to your lower self, to go into your emotions, what you are feeling at that current moment. Like, let's say you're getting pissed off that somebody cut you off on the road and you just want to curse them out and get out your car and beat them up. And then all of a sudden you see their license plate say 666. That is the universe way of telling you to don't give into those reptilian nature, that animalistic nature, the things that make you human, those human emotions, rise above it. So pay attention to your surroundings and think of, okay, what will my higher self do? Because the devil is just your lower self. There is no, from especially what I've witnessed, there is no heaven and hell. This is essentially hell. Coming back and doing this all over again. That's what you mentioned, samsara. Nirvana is getting out of this loop or
right.
escaping liberation. And it's very interesting how the Gnostics have this same concept that's very similar to Buddhism, Hinduism, where it's all about obtaining liberation. And the Gnostics believe that Yahshua or Jesus wasn't here to create religion. I mean, when people really think about it, how do we go from crucifying somebody to now that region that crucified him being the Holy Roman Empire, and now creating a religion off of his crucifixion, like that? There are ascended masters who come back, or they come and teach us liberation, and we crucify them because the God of the Old Testament, according to Gnostics, or even Norse mythology, you look at Loki, they're tricksters, or the demiurge. They're the ones who trick humanity into believing that you have to serve the flesh. So when you see 666, you are serving thy flesh, and you're not living like that. That's just a sign to like really just not serve your lower self, not serve this carbon being that makes you up,
So
but to
so
go ahead.
if I'm driving my car and I see the number plates are 666, I've got to be like, okay, I've got to use my higher self here because something that might be getting into a situation where my lower self is vulnerable.
Yes. And that's what they call angel numbers, but they're just really codes or synchronicities from the universe being sent down to you just to kind of guide you along the way. That's from your higher self. Those are little nudges that your higher self is going to say, hey, make this right, because if you go down there, I already saw how this played out, you don't survive. So your higher self nudges you through these gut feelings or sometimes numbers, because that's how the divine communicates with you, through synchronicity, these patterns, these repeating patterns that show up in your life.
Yeah.
So if you're any angel number that you see, you just have to think to yourself, like, what's happening? For example, if you see 222 and you're at an interview, that's the universe way of saying you're at the right place at the right time. This is what's meant for you. Or if you are in a process of, like for me, for example, I'll use one of my most recent signs. Remember how I said I was on a hiatus of not creating content? Well, the other day I saw the gas station price. It was $3.33. And that was the universe way of saying it's time for you to create again. Get back to doing it. Your hiatus is over. But prior to that, I saw a number. What was it? I remember seeing 444, which meant, even though it comes after 3, but that was my sign that I saw before, where it said it's time to be grounded. Gain stability. 1 is a very grounding number. 2, all these different, I'm sorry, not 1. 1 is more so like it's time to go. 2, these numbers play in a yin and yang cycle, where It's like you think of one as the seed being planted, and two, it's starting to grow. Three, it's starting to flourish, it's starting to create, it's starting to blossom. And four, you're getting back to your foundation. You think of a foundation has four corners, four like pillars, all this to build stability. So it's just like the universe way of saying you need to be stable or be grounded. Because I was just left the Monroe Institute. I was going through a form of spiritual psychosis. Now it was like, all right, come back down, ground yourself,
Yeah.
enjoy the human experience.
Is this sort of only go up to 9 then? Like, and it's always like 3 digits, or 3 times rather.
Well, you look at like Tesla, for example, like nine is the governor of all numbers prior to it, because everything else is a derivative of nine, or nine is the only thing that multiplies into itself. So it's essentially, numbers stop at nine, because one and zero or anything else,
Okay.
any number after nine is something with another number. But nine is just like everything. It's what rules this realm essentially.
Yeah, and does this kind of communication with the universe come in any other form? Because you kind of mentioned like frequencies and vibrations, patterns. Can it be like sort of sounds and sort of other forms?
Absolutely. Sounds can take you back into certain time periods. You hear a sound, you use your olfactory nerves, sound, smell. Like certain smells can trigger memories that you didn't know you had, but sounds definitely. And remember how I said sounds were what allowed me to tap into the frequency. Sounds are one of the most ancient healing practices. You can heal cancer with frequencies. You can heal, everything has its own vibration, but sound is what they believe created the universe. So sound is very important when it comes to uh tapping into the universe, because they said God created with, he said, let there be light, sound, the big bang, it's a sound. So all of this, it plays into why sound is definitely one of the most important factors with tapping into the universe, because we were created from sound.
Yeah, well, we interviewed a sound healer a couple weeks back, and he said when his wife is giving birth, he's there playing a didgeridoo because he wants that like to have something to do with a healthy life and stuff like that. I mean, it's amazing, kind of the power. I also wanted to pivot into the process of manifestation. It has this 369. So before coming into this, I actually tried your method, and it worked. It's kind of like the pyramid 369. So you write it down. I've got it here actually. So I wrote. I wasn't consistent with it, but I basically wrote in my manifestation that I am financially free and I can support my family and girl. And then it happens like not to a big extent, and I wasn't consistent with it. Like I didn't write it every time, but I get a kind of relationship, and also I get a out of nowhere stream of money coming in. Now I know your kind of like manifestation story is really interesting. Um, so yeah, if you'd kind of what's your kind of experience with manifestation, and I want to hear your story again.
Actually, it's funny because I actually have to start working on my presentation for an actual speech down at the Walter Russell Institute in Virginia, that's going to deal with co-creating with the creator, creating your own reality. And it's essentially going to talk about how we are made in the creator's image. So therefore we can create our own reality. But how do you do that? You have to believe that you are this powerful being and know thyself that you can create. So when I first, my first experience with manifestation came with my neighbor. He was a fire chief for DC Fire Department. And he said that he would write in his passwords, Chief one day, every single day, he'd write it down. And why that's important is because he's crossing the midline. When you cross that midline, it allows you to connect these two hemispheres, just as binaural beats does. So he would write this, and he retired from DC Fire as a deputy chief for them. But he wrote this when he was just a regular firefighter. His passwords were Chief One Day. So that was my first. I didn't know that was manifestation until I said, you know what? I was in a lot of debt. And I said that I'm going to pay this off. I don't know how I'm going to pay it off, but it's just going to happen. I'm going to just do it. So I wrote down all my debt. And I said, I'm going to pay this off within the next year or so. And that was when I had a random opportunity where this woman from this game show called the Misery Index, came in my DM and said, hey, I have a brilliant opportunity for you. If you're interested, I would like you to be part of this game show. And I was like, all right, what do I got to do? She said, you just got to tell us an embarrassing story. And then that's like the step one. And then after that, if we think it's funny, we'll move on to the next part of the interview process. So I told them the embarrassing story of when I had really bad diarrhea in middle school. And it just, like, in middle school, you don't want to be that guy who's taking a dump in a bathroom. So you try to hide your feet and then hide from the people coming in the bathroom. And then I remember it was really bad. I just couldn't stop it. And then somebody was like, yo, is somebody taking a shit in here? And I'm like, oh no, because in middle school, they were notorious for going up and like, oh, Marco's taking a shit. We're going to go out and tell everybody. So they got a chuckle out of that. So in the process of doing that, like, I tried hiding my feet so nobody would see that I was like taking a dump. And it got on my shirt. Like, I jumped up to try to hide my feet, and it got on my shirt. And they ended up saying how, well, I think I lost you for a second, but if it's still running, I guess I'll continue with the story. But essentially, it got on my shirt. I go home on a bus, and it just smells terrible. And the bus driver was like, he saw me opening all the windows, and I'm like, trust me, it's gonna smell bad if it's not open. So I told him that story, and next thing you know, I'm on the Misery Index. I don't know if it was still going. I was still kind of talking just in case it was still going, if the audio was still rolling. Like,
sorry, I think it's my connection or something.
No, it's all good.
All right, no worries. Yeah. I think
so I still kind of went on with the story in case we lost it, but like, essentially, yeah, that was the story that landed me on the Misery Index. And they, when I got there, it was even more lucky. Remember how I say when you're aligned, stuff just happens naturally and it falls into place? Because when I was there, they were only doing 2 episodes that particular day, and they were doing boy versus girl. And just my luck, there was only 2 guys there. So I was like a shoo-in to be selected to go on the show. And I started off losing really bad, and then tables turned, and I won $20,000. And I manifested that was the amount that, was it $22,000? I was like, that was the amount that I wanted to pay off. But the manifestation didn't end there. I also seen it come even more into fruition, where I was just like, this truck is just giving me so much financial struggle. So I ended up that truck ended up getting totaled, and I got a check for $24,000 years later. And I'm like, wow, this is really just coming into fruition. So when that truck was totaled, I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna manifest money no more. I'm gonna manifest time. So I said, I want my time back. Time to do whatever I want, whenever I want. And the universe said, done. So I ended up losing my girlfriend and I. We live in a campground. We live in an RV, very nomadic. And to save money, I picked up a part-time gig of working maintenance, doing electrical work and maintenance around the campground. But I got fired from that position. And that gave me the time and freedom to start my own business, where I help people align to their higher self. It allowed me to focus more on my videos, my creativity, allowed me to finish my book. And then I didn't have to struggle with money after that point. So it's just like, that's how manifestation works. You you ask and you shall receive, and that's it. So I'm
Yeah.
glad the 369 method is working for you, because that's essentially it. You write it out 3 times in the morning, 3 times at night, and then, I'm sorry, 3 times, 6 times, and then 9 times. And that works, because remember how I said writing crosses that midline and it helps you connect. But the fact that you your manifestations came into fruition, and now you're living aligned to your life path, you stumbled on to what you're meant to do.
Yeah, that's amazing. With the manifestation, I feel like you need some action in there as well, though, because I think the idea of like really believing something, um, like something turning up at your door, I feel like it needs that action in the middle between the goal and the manifestation. So like, I, where I mean, that could be the writing down of it, or it could, like for me, I would have needed to, because I got the opportunity from a digital marketing opportunity, and I needed to be like actually doing it, like with my podcast and other stuff. And also with my relationship, I would have needed to be on the dating app. It's like do you feel like you need an action, or do you think like just writing down is enough?
That's actually a great question, because what's meant to be is meant to be. So, for example, when I manifest something, yet nobody can see it right now, but I have on my refrigerator, first sign is keep creating. That's what I need to do to allow the manifestations to come into fruition, and thy will be done. So, on the right, I have short term goals or things that I need to complete, and they're aligned to the steps of long-term goals, and they're like the steps that need to be completed before this goal can be checked off. So it's like, yeah, you can manifest, oh, I want to buy land, but you got to do the steps. There's processes like save money or do this, work this. Like there's stuff that has to come into play before it fully comes in. Now, that's with certain goals or things you have in mind, and you imagine what it's like to feel that energy. But then you have like stuff where it's just an inner knowing and it just happens, such as the money coming out of nowhere. That was I knew it was going to come. I didn't know how it was going to come, but I felt it. There was something, the higher self, I guess, is what told me, where it's like, you're going to get money. Just relax, let it go. Uh, that's the most important part of manifestation, is letting go, as if it's a Amazon package that's on its way to you. You know it's coming. You just got to relax and sit back and wait for it to come. If you feel what it's like to have what you are desiring or what you are manifesting, then it'll come. It just takes a little bit of time. But when it gets here, like, you're not constantly tracking it. If you have this inner knowing that what I've put out there into the universe is coming to me, you don't have to worry about it. You just live life and live in a process. And that's why I don't personally like manifesting money anymore, because it leaves you in a constant state of manifestation, like, as opposed to changing that to, I want time. Because if I have time, I know that money is going to come. I don't have to worry about money. So it's like, if you time is up here, it's one of the most valuable things. Money is way down here. So if you manifest something such as a long-term goal, for me to have nothing but time, then you will receive that, and everything that comes in between there will eventually catch up. And that's, I think, for those out there who want to be financially free, request to have your time to do whatever you want, and the universe will align it to you. And it may entail you being fired.
Yeah. No, everyone listening, do watch Marco's manifestation video, because I mean I was skeptical, but it worked for me. So I can kind of say, like, if you haven't done it before, it's a good place to start, and it's also an important point. The universe doesn't reward people who want, right?
Yes.
It's what's instead.
So if you say pretend like I like to pretend that I am the universe, and I like to ask the why. Why do you want this? And then you eventually get to your, like you say, oh, I want to be a millionaire. Okay, universe, why do you want to be a millionaire? Oh, to you kind of get stuck at some point where you're like, oh, I want to help my family. Why do you want to help your family? Oh, well, I want to be able to make more memories with them. Why do you want to make more memories with them? Because that's what serves my soul. And then you eventually get to your true why and your desire, and then you change and you tweak what is it you're truthfully requesting. I want to serve my soul. So I think that if you say, I want this, well, okay, so what? Like, you want to be a millionaire. Why do you want to be a millionaire? You want to serve your flesh? Because money only serves the flesh, it doesn't serve the soul. So when you ask the universe for the things that serve your soul, that's when the universe rewards you.
Yeah, I like that. I think of it of hedonism. It's like it serves your body, but it like doesn't serve your soul. I wanted to pivot slightly into a couple of the chapters in your book that I'm interested about. So actually, on the topic of souls, this concept of serving your soul and having a soul contract is you mentioned that I maybe didn't achieve what I wanted to in a past life or something like that, or something went wrong there. Is there this process that's going on about having a trying to improve the soul and into sort of different lifetimes and stuff like that? Is this sort of thing something that you believe in?
I think that we as humans, like I said, we're meant to create, but we're also meant to do what makes you feel good internally. All your accolades, all of this stuff that we do on the surface level or on the external level doesn't matter. But every day we're supposed to do something that makes you feel good. Like, let's say you helped a homeless guy and you feel really good about it, or you gave back, you did something that benefited the collective. And it's like you get merits, or it's like the universe rewards you in that way, where the more you do, the more fulfilled you are, like the more you have to give out. You're full internal. You have this selfless approach to you. And that's all we're here to do, is like where the Bible talks about loving thy neighbor, but just really to have a selfless approach and be a service to humanity. And that's what truthfully rewards the soul. And if you reward the soul, that means you don't get caught up in this materialistic loop, because you let go of all the things that keep you stuck, such as the external accolades, the self persona of whom you think you are. That's when the soul brings you back. Oh, you want to be human? You love being human so much. Here, go back to earth. You can't let go of the fact that you don't no longer own this house no more, or that family who you thought was supposed to be you didn't say your final goodbyes. No. Live in the moment, serve everyone who you encounter, and you will never come back. You will serve the soul. That is serving the soul. So I hope that
Yeah,
kind of touches it.
yeah. I can kind of relate it to what Alan. Well, I feel like it's a state of being that serves the world and serves your soul. It's what Alan Watts refers to as like dancing in life, and it's kind of being in a flow state when you feel that divinity of where you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's yeah, I think it's spot on there.
No, yeah, no, that's Alan Watt. Yeah, definitely the flow state. Remember, that flow state is also where you can. I don't know if any of your watchers or listeners seen the movie Soul, but if you've seen the movie Soul, you know that when he gets into a flow state, he enters into that spiritual realm that allows him to connect to the other spirit beings or his higher self, like where his higher self lies. But you see that in people who tap into this flow state. They're in just this letting go and letting everything just be.
There's research that the people that report the highest well-being are in flow state for the longest. So for me, it's something to achieve? How can I turn this activity into flow state? Um, yeah, I wanted to ask about, is this how you pronounce it? Theosophy. So the Akashic records.
The Akashic records.
Yeah, the Akashic records. Yeah. Could you tell me about them and this theosophy?
So remember how I said the Akashic records was that place where time doesn't exist, where you tap into it. The Akashic records is essentially a cosmic library. Think of it that way, where all universal knowledge exists. Where Walter Russell, who, like I said, that's how and I'll be giving an upcoming presentation there, but it's where you obtain cosmic consciousness. And he said it best, where like man doesn't need, there's nothing that an earthly teacher can teach man if he obtains cosmic consciousness. He goes within himself and has this inner knowing, because we're all connected to source, this universal library, or this knowledge, and it's up to us to go within ourselves to pull it out. And a lot of people who do this, if you pay attention to near-death experiences, and that's honestly what inspired my journey, was a woman who had a near-death experience where I was a rookie year as an EMT firefighter, and she said that she was the youngest patient I ever had that came back to life. And I said, "What did you see?" And she said, "I saw everything. From the beginning of time to the end of time. I saw every life I ever lived. I'm mad that you guys brought me back, because everything I was trying to escape from, I'm back at it now. I mean, I'm here. But when I was there, I felt pure bliss, one infinite consciousness." But she had this inner knowing that made that, like, it was so strong that I felt that energy. Like, just, she has some type of knowledge that I don't think she really realized. She just tapped into cosmic consciousness. So I started doing more research into cosmic consciousness or near-death experiences. You see there's a correlation with psychedelics, people who have near-death experiences, and people who meditate. They all share the same profound insight, and they all tap into this Akashic records. The Akashic records is where you see all your lives. It's where you see where psychics such as Nostradamus, they tap into to receive universal information. One of the greatest mathematicians, Srini Vasaramanujan, he tapped into this space when he meditated, because he was very religious in that aspect, where he meditated and gave service to God, or his God. And he said that it's noted that he came up with the equation for the black hole before NASA was even founded. How would he have known that this information even existed? It's because he tapped into this space and time that doesn't exist on this linear perspective. But that's all the Akashic record is. It's where you're able to pull information from one period of time that it has happened, and bring it into your now. So if you go into the Akashic records, and it's very weird, because people say, like, okay, how come you're not a millionaire? Because it's like, remember what I said earlier, money doesn't serve the soul, it serves the flesh. So you're not going to obtain information that serves your flesh. You're going to obtain information that serves the soul. And that's why you'll notice, like, a lot of people, you can dig into your soul contract and literally read, why are you here? What are you here to learn? And when I tapped into the Akashic records, that's where I found out that my past life, or the lesson from my last life, I had to learn. And I remember it was through a past life regression. It was almost as if I was writing it, my soul was writing it as we were talking about it. But it was saying how I was supposed to learn from my past life as a mechanic, and my son unalived me. In that life, we were mechanics fighting over money, and he incarnated in this lifetime to be my son, so I can love him unconditionally for being my brother and unaliving me. And you see how the universe, and it told me how it showed me all the signs, like my current girlfriend right now. Universe plays with you in this way so you can learn your lesson, because her brothers are all mechanics. and they work together, very loving, and they're so they're very giving. They will give you the shirt off their back, but they're very selfless. And it was just like, this is what the universe wanted. It said it wants you to be good with your hands again. Start working and such. I ended up getting that job at the campground as a maintenance man. So it's like that was aligning to what I was supposed to do. And I just stumbled into it. So that's what the information from the akashic records reveals to you. It reveals to you information that is supposed to help you in this lifetime and also help humanity.
Just so we sort of nail this point, like how do I access this through sort of meditation and psychedelic sort of feedback? Is that right? So, I mean, I can kind of relate to this a little bit with kind of seeing in this lifetime how certain decisions will lead a path, but I don't think I've been able to go too much further into other lives.
So the akashic records, there are many different ways that people can tap into them. And I'm glad you asked this question. You do have the psychedelic route. And that's where I say you will receive information that you are not ready to receive if you didn't do the work prior, such as meditating. Meditating could just be doing something that puts you in a flow state, as we mentioned earlier. Just constantly doing something that puts you in a flow state that allows all your thoughts to clear out, or also kind of allows you to decipher your thoughts. I don't want to say clear out, because sometimes some of those thoughts lead you to the akashic records. Think of it as a train that you're waiting for. You know that you have a certain destination that you're trying to go to, but there's a certain train that's going to take you to it, and your thoughts are that train. So that train that's going to take you to the akashic records, you just wait for that thought to come. But you got to know what that train looks like. You got to know, you had to have seen it before. You had to have been on it before. And that's where I think when I have experimented with psychedelics, there were many lessons for me to recognize that train, such as, okay, the Find My Eyes lesson. That was essentially recognizing what train to get on. So now that I know what train to get on, when I meditate, I know how to jump on that train instantly. I don't have to wait. It comes faster. As opposed to being bombarded with all these thoughts, I know that this is the train that's going to allow me to access the akashic records. So I say, if you constantly practice meditating, you can get there. But if you do so happen to take the psychedelic route, my first lesson was to master the substance. When you master the substance, you master your universe, because it's a gateway. It's a tool to get you to this different realm of time. It's what allows you to transverse. So when I first ever taken any form of psychedelics, it was just like the psychedelics took control over me. And then after practice, it was like, take control over the psychedelic and see where it takes you. So I started taking control of the psychedelic, and that's what allowed me to hop on that train, as I say, and allowed me to find how to enter the akashic records. Then once I got to the Monroe Institute, it took me no more than a 20-minute meditation session with the binaural beats to tap into that frequency that allows me to hop on that train to the akashic records. But this place that I went to, I don't even think you have the akashic records, which is like, let's call the akashic records a fifth dimensional space and time where stuff doesn't exist. Where all information exists, or time doesn't exist. Where I went in the Monroe Institute, I feel like it was beyond the akashic records. It was, remember I said there was source, and my higher self said it was just a bright light, and it said you're not ready to go there yet. You have to master yourself, and then you master the universe. Because when you master yourself, you mastered all incarnations, because that's what connects you to your higher self. But the akashic records, it's a place we all can go, but it's just a matter of going within ourselves to access it. And many different people, some people can access it through meditation instantly, and some people can take the psychedelic route, and some people can get there and not even know that they're there. It's really hard to honestly explain. It's just an inner knowing. You know when you're there. Like I can't particularly described how to get there. It's just when you're there.
So interpret it as, so there might be like a little sign or a source, and then you kind of you hold on to that, and then you sort of the train analogy I think was quite good. On the psychedelic point to get there, I only learned this like a couple of days ago, and apparently it's quite a well-known thing, but about how like humans are closer to mushrooms than mushrooms are to any other plants. Um, yeah, what's your thoughts about that? Why are we so close to them?
It's funny because before this, I was actually grocery shopping for some oyster mushrooms. I honestly feel like mushrooms, they gave me stickers at work because I always eat mushrooms. I feel like mushrooms, my memory has uh I improve these neurological pathways. I feel like the mycelium does what it says, where you eat lion's mane or oyster king mushrooms. It creates these different neurological pathways. Or if we're computers and we're not really truly accessing our full capacity with our brain, mushrooms are there to help us. We didn't accidentally discover mushrooms. It was all by design. Mushrooms are the true cheat codes to the universe, where they help us access this universal knowledge. I mean, you look at the stone ape theory that Terence McKenna puts out there, where we had a jump in consciousness from discovering mushrooms. Or this is what they say that the fruit in the Garden of Eden is the Amanita muscaria mushroom, or a mushroom that allowed us to obtain this knowledge. And that's why I say like they were making they make it frowned upon to take this, because it gives you gnosis. That's all mushrooms were here. They all the you see how it clears out your microbiome. It helps your microbiome. It helps you with your brain. Like, you eat meat. My meat substitute is mushrooms. So meat gives you this. They're showing how it's like linked to Alzheimer's and all these different neurological diseases, while mushrooms clears that up. So it's like, why aren't we eating more of this? Or
Yeah,
why? There was a study of how the mushrooms, they put a mushroom into the Japanese subway system, and it recreated the subway system to a more efficient manner. That's mushrooms. Yeah, that's an interesting study.
wait, so what did they do? Did they put
There,
them in the train?
no, so there was like this petri dish, or this, they had this like maze that was set up like the city of Japan, and they had the mushrooms kind of grow into a way where it can navigate through the city. And they saw that the mushrooms not only did that, but they even created an entire different network of a subway system, more efficient than Japan's own subway system. So that's why, like, mushrooms, I say, like, if we really, they were put here to help us. Like,
A
someone or
gift.
something put them here to help us evolve in our evolutionary journey of consciousness. That's what I would tell anybody when it comes to mushrooms. That's all they are here for. They help the planet. I mean, they help with diseases, they help with our health, but they were also help here. They were, remember how your higher self, let's say, gives a service to his past selves to help it along its evolutionary journey. I think that's what
Mm.
mushrooms were here for, to help us grow and evolve, because they truly have. If anyone starts incorporating mushrooms in their diet, I can promise you, your memory, your cognitive abilities to recall things will improve tremendously.
Just any mushrooms or magic mushrooms?
I like, well, magic mushrooms are like the teachers, but for day-to-day life, such as your diet and stuff, if you were to eat king oyster mushrooms or lion's mane mushrooms, there's so many benefits to that. And that's not by accident. You can grow them. My girlfriend and I are about to purchase land, and I said, well, we're not going to be around grocery stores, so our meat substitute is going to be mushrooms. It's going to have to be, because we can grow these, and they call it the chicken of the woods, because if you season it right, you can make it taste like chicken, and you won't even think about eating meat again. But it clears you
Mm.
out. I notice, like, our our gut health is a lot healthier and our skin looks a lot better. And I contribute to not eating as much meat. And mushrooms, they help. They're I think you look at these other societies like Eastern societies, a lot it's incorporated in a lot of Asian diets. They have a lifespan of over 90 years. So I think that they help you live long and prosper, but I know intuitively, I feel it that they were put here to help guide us on our journey.
My last question. I hope sort of other people have the same sort of problem or like can relate to this. So I was in a coffee shop a while ago, and I started talking to the stranger, and he was telling me we somehow got on the conversation that he can see kind of people's spirit in life, and he can kind of sense their energy, and he can maybe he's sidekick. And so I asked him, well, what do you feel like that I'm lacking? What's bad about my energy, stuff like that. And he said that I think too much in my head and not enough in my heart. And I also I noticed this in other people, but I this is a problem that I've been sort of haunting over for the last like year. Um, it really it impacted me. Um, do you have any kind of advice for people like me, or yeah, people like me with this problem?
You said you think too much with your head, you're in your head too much, and
I
to
I think too much in my head and not enough in my heart.
and honestly, I don't think that that's so much of a bad thing. However, I think you can control that. And my best advice is the entire thing we talked about this entire conversation, which was meditation. If you honestly take out a solid 20, start off with 10 minutes. Just give yourself, you're starting to become your own boss. And when you become your own boss, you create your own schedule. So you got to give yourself time. Start off meditating. Just practice like anything. Practice makes perfect. Start off with about 10 minutes of meditation. Just give yourself a quiet space or time to just let your thoughts go. Just let them run wild. Just let them do what they want to do. And over time, you're going to realize I can start controlling my thoughts. I can start filtering my thoughts. I can put them on a shelf. That's what I like to do. I like to, when I meditate, I like to say all the thoughts, if I have a destination that I'm trying to get to, and there's so many thoughts that are bombarding me. Everybody had, this is with everybody, whether you're a seasoned meditation practitioner or not. We're all going to have these thoughts that are going to bombard us constantly. But I like to say, just put them on a shelf and just let them, thought comes, put it on a shelf. Another thought comes, put it on the shelf again. Just keep putting them on the shelf until you get that clarity. And I think that clarity is what's going to allow you to lean more into your heart. Like, what are you trying to, what is your heart telling you at this point? And you filter out the everyday noise, then you'll start to have clarity. And next thing you know, you'll constantly be in a flow state. Just instantly, you could be driving in a flow state. And I want to ask you this actually, because like, what puts you in a flow state, in your opinion?
I was in a flow state of this conversation. I think it's a balance between it's kind of like the voices of um doing something challenging, but then also kind of like an Alan Watts voice, like so it's kind of it's being in the state of play. I think it's doing something I enjoy, that's challenging, that's meaningful. It's all, yeah, I mean, it's kind of described as like when action becomes awareness.
I want to ask you this. Now, how do you learn? Are you a visual learner? Are you a hands-on kind of guy?
I think I'm a bit of both,
Okay.
but maybe more visual.
Okay. Because I feel like meditation is like a diet. Everyone's form of meditation is going to work. Like some people can sit in a lotus position and completely quiet their mind, and they're just good at sitting still, while some people have to dance, or some people have to go on a hike, or some people hop on their Harley and go for a ride, and that puts them in a flow state. So my homework for you is to like really find what truly keeps you in that flow state and allows you to have all these thoughts to come, but you can also have the opportunity to put them on the back burner until the thought that you want to come into fruition, or whatever it is your heart is telling you, you're starting to be able to listen to it. So it's just practice, honestly. Whatever, like, you have to just clear your mind or sort your mind. I don't want to say clear it. I just say sort through the clutter, because I don't want to call it
Yeah.
clutter as well, but sort through the noise and put what is important up front, and then you'll start to recognize there are different things talking to you between your ego and your intuition. Your intuition is the quietest out of your ego. Your ego is more now, loud, but your intuition is calm, cool, and collective. And you know you're following it when you're following a path that's just naturally unfolding in front of you. Remember, because that's how you stumble into your purpose. Now, when it comes to quieting your thoughts, that's it. You just listen to the voice that is the most calm, and a voice that's giving you this direction. And it doesn't make sense. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. It's going to talk to you in a way that doesn't make sense. But eventually, a week later, it makes sense. Or maybe a month later, that voice that you heard, it makes sense. That's your intuition. And I think that's all you need to do is practice on tapping into listening to that voice.
Marco, I appreciate your time. If people want to find out more about you, where should they go?
You can go to MarcoJWilliams, MARCO, letter J, Williams, WILLIAMS, at YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, any of those platforms. I'm on there. I'm actually about to start my own podcast. I'm not going to drop the name of it yet because it's still in the works.
Hey.
But I actually, that's what I kind of that was one of my downloads from the higher self, which said, give other people the floor. So now you are already on it. So thank you for having me. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. And hopefully you can contributing to the collective. You are on your purpose. I just want you to know that.
No, that's really nice. Yeah, you need any help, let me know. I'm very happy to help. What I've learned a little bit of the game doing this 1 year. But seriously, everyone listening, Marco is as good as they get. Like, I haven't had anyone that has kind of communicated it in the kind of clarity that you do. So, yeah, this was a blessing to have this conversation. See you again.
No problem. Good talking to you. You be easy.